Welcome to DowerChin.com. Alright, today we're going to take a look at a hard drive. Well, not just any hard drive. This is the Western Digital MyBook Duo. And what this is basically it is a 4 terabyte hard drive. Well, in reality, it's two terabyte hard drives, which make up 4. And really the reason why I have this is I have one machine I do a lot of my work on as far as photo editing and stuff for the family. And it's always a concern of mine that if one of those drives goes, I lose a lot of my stuff. And even though I could back up to the cloud and those kind of things, there's time involved in getting all those files up into some place to store for the cloud. And so this is going to come in handy, as I hope it will. So when I hook up to one of my systems, that with this device I can put my stuff on here and have the safety of having 2 drives, and if one goes, then hopefully the other one doesn't go at the same time, and I still have the stuff on it. So we'll take a look at this drive, hook it up to a machine, and well, we'll see what it does. Okay, so I took the pretty thick plastic wrap that was around this thing off, and so we'll take a look real quick at the box. And so we can see just from this picture here, has an eSATA connector and 2 USB 3 connectors, power, and cable lock if you use one of those Kensington locks for security. The one thing that they do tell you here is that it is compatible with OS X, so it will work with your Mac. However, it requires reformatting. So it is formatted already for NTFS, which is for Windows. So the other thing that I've heard from people on the web talk about is that this drive is set up for what's called RAID 0. And basically what RAID 0 is both drives are basically acting as one drive. So the 2 terabytes, the two 2 terabyte drives then equates to 4 terabytes. The problem with RAID 0, if you're not familiar with RAID, is that if one of those drives goes, the entire thing goes. And so it's sort of a more of a dangerous setup. And the reason why you use it, though, is you get more performance because the data is written to either or the drives, and basically ultimately gives you better performance for fast disk speed requirements. But if you want to do what I'm going to do is basically for redundancy and for some extra security for data protection, I'm going to redo it as RAID 1. So that's something you have to do after the fact, apparently. So let's take a look at what's in the box. Okay. All right, a little quick manual thing here for what to set up. 1, 2, and 3. And take this guy out of this box here. There it is. And this little box here, we shall see what's in here. Put that to the side. And you see that this guy comes with a USB 3 cable and a standard power supply and a technical support and warranty manual. All right. Take a look at what this guy has. So, of course, it's nice and sealed in plastic. Alright, toss that aside. So here, as we can see, this is the drive unit itself. It's not very big. One of the things about it, it does not have a fan. So you see the large vents here for letting heat rise up above it. So it should be relatively quiet. So I'm going to change angles here, and we're going to take a look at it from a different, a little more of a lower perspective. Okay, so now that I have the drive on my desk here, you can take a look. This is my Galaxy Note 3 phone, for example. As you can see, it's about the size, a little bit bigger than that, obviously. But so it's not a very large drive unit, which is kind of nice. So as I said, you see lots of ventilation up over here. So let's go open this guy up and let's take a look at what this guy has inside it. So, once again, you'll be doing this exercise if one of the drives actually does fail. So you unscrew this little thing here, and this kind of comes right off. And these pull tabs are available here, so you can yank the drive. So there's 1 and 2 over here. So I'll get a little pull here, and the drive comes right out. So as you can see from here, this angle here, these are Western Digital red drives. This is a 2 terabyte red drive. And the red drives are Western Digital's brand of drive that's sort of made for storage arrays, like this one here. So once we'll put this in the right position here, it's kind of don't like being in the tab can get in the way. It's got to be straightened out this way. Plugs in. Put this back in like so. Oops, and hope I actually put it in the right way. Sorry, so it goes this way. And screw that back in. Like, put this in the right way here. Screw this back down. Let me stand this up. There we go. Screw that back down. So you can see there's plenty of holes here for when it's standing up, for the heat to rise out of this device. And I guess put it back down. So, alright, so what I'm going to do now is I will power this up, and let me see if I can walk through the steps for setting up as a RAID 1. Because I haven't used this yet, so this is my first time actually even looking at it outside the box. But I'm going to go see if I can set this up, set up as a RAID 1, and see how it works. Alright, so now that I got my Surface Pro 3 out here, now this isn't the machine I work with my photos on particularly, but this is a good machine just to kind of explain how the setup is. Now let's take a look at this. This is the power brick that comes with it. It's a relatively sizable brick, probably no worse than the power supply for the Surface Pro 3. So we'll plug this in off the corner over here, and we'll run power to it, and we'll just kind of scoot this back over here. Oh, just a clarification. I made a goof when I unboxed this thing. This is not eSATA. This is just a USB 3 connector. So I want to make that very clear. It is not eSATA. It is just USB 3. So plug that in, and see the drive light goes and the power light's on. And we'll take a look at the cable here. This is the USB 3 cable that came with it. And as you can see, that's the funny little end there for the USB 3 with the regular one here. So we will plug this in as well. Now, this is the first time I'm using this on my device. I haven't done anything with this device yet, so this is actually the first time using it. So let's plug this in. Alright, so I see it's flashing over there, and so it came up. Alright, so now, just as it's coming up here, it says MyBook Duo, and it's my E drive, and we can see from here it has 3.63 terabytes. So obviously that's where the 4 terabytes in a RAID 0 setup, which is striped. So both drives are being utilized for storage. This is not the setup I want, because I want the redundancy, and this is not going to give me that. So, but the software is on here though, so we'll at least run the software here. Run the setup program, and let's see what happens. Yep, I agree. Yeah, I know all you guys like past that, right? We'll launch the application after it's done. All right. So hit next. Let that go. Let it install. Ignore that backup warning. That was my thing, nothing to do with the Western Digital. It's pretty quiet. It doesn't make a whole lot of noise, which is nice. Partly because there's no fans. Alright, so now it's done. So I'll finish that. And there we are. So, this is the software that comes up. This is their drive utilities here. Let's see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the video off. I'm going to go into a desktop view to record that, and we'll just look at the tools there. So I'll be right back. Alright, so now that it's installed, it just wanted me to upgrade the software. I'm going to skip this for the moment, and I'll go to this thing here. This is the drive utilities here. First thing you get into when you run it, you have diagnostics to tell it about the drive, and what I care about at this point is the RAID management. So RAID management wise, you can see that right now it's RAID 0 striped, just like I said before. Now, and it says that both drives are online and the RAID status is healthy. Now, obviously, this is not what I want, because ultimately, if RAID 0, if something goes wrong with one of them, I have a very high chance that I'll lose everything, and that's not what I want. So let's go to the configuration. Let's try to do what we want to do here. Yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do: a mirror RAID 1. I'll leave the name by default here, and now I'll say I understand. We'll configure it. And because ultimately this is going to erase everything on the drives, because it's got to reconfigure the whole thing. So make sure you haven't used this yet before doing anything. And if you have, I'd say make sure you back it up. So we'll configure it, let it go. So it unmounted itself. Here the drive's and alright, so runs a formatter and it's doing the rest of the work. Okay, so now that's done. Let's take a look here. Now you see I have 1.81 terabytes free, and so it's configured, and then I go here to status. RAID 1 mirrored, and both drives are healthy. So that's exactly what I wanted to see. Okay, so now that everything's installed, we can take a look at, once again, you see that the drive is a 1.8 terabyte hard drive now, because now these are duplicated now. So the funny thing is, when the system came with it, there was all software on the drive, and since we did it, we lost all software. So, and I just realized that because I have to put this guy on the system that I really intend to use it with, and now the software is gone. So luckily, if you go to Western Digital's website, you can grab all the software for the MyBook Duo, which I'm going to have to do to really make use of it. So let's take some files and just copy them over. I had some folders in my temp here, and let's just find some image files. So I just drop them on here. Oops, if I can clear some space for it here. So I will here go to my drive here, and I will copy some files over. Let's see. So some image files here, and so some image files are copied over. Tutorial about how to use something here. So all right, so we got some files on here, and so now what we're going to do is, well, I'm going to pull one of the drives and see what happens, because ultimately, I'm going to try to simulate the failure of a disk. Now, just to let you know, there is no power supply. I mean, no power button on this thing, so there's no off button. So I'm going to have to eject the drive and yank it from it, and I'm going to pull the drive out. Let's see. So I'm going to eject this guy, and there's all my USB stuff. I will eject the Duo. That's done. So I'm going to yank this, and so I'm going to pull the drive, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is a scenario. What I did is I popped this guy open, and I literally pulled this drive out. Here's the drive. This is drive 1, and you can see it. And so as you see now that it's booted up, it actually has got a red light. So now it's telling me most likely the drive failed. I'm going to plug this back into my Surface, and let's just see what it tells me. So now it's still mounted, so my files are still here. So my images and my video files are still available.
This video.
So they're all here. So an interesting thing, let's find out. So, okay, so I got a prompt that popped up here. It says your device, MyBook Duo, has RAID configuration issues, and please launch the WD drive utility software to get more information. So I'll hit OK, and let's find that software. So I think I threw the icon in my. Hold on, I think the icon in this temp folder, I believe. Let's see where to go. Oh, there it is. So on the utility. So let's what it says here. All right, well, I'm going to go switch the screen again. to get a better look at the screen, do a screen recording, and we'll see what this says. All right, so once again, we're back in the Western Digital Drive Utilities here, and we're going to the RAID management. And look at this. Here we go. So this is since I pulled the drive out, we can see that the RAID status is degraded. And so the RAID volume is degraded, but the data is still accessible. Please install supported Western Digital Drive to rebuild the RAID configuration. So that's great. So now here it says drive 1 is missing, drive 2 is online. So in the case of a failure where one of the drives could go bad, the data is still available. So if I were, once again, to go here and take a look at the Duo, my data is still here. This is where the files I put on earlier are still visible. So there's some graphics I had scanned in beforehand, and so they're all still available. So everything works, which is great. And this is exactly what I want, because in the case of something like this really happening, this is the scenario I want. I want to be able to still maintain my files and not worry about data loss. All right, so I'm going to put the drive back in, and we'll see what happens when I do that. So first I'm going to eject it just to make sure, make sure we do it right. I'll eject it, and then I will turn the drive down, unplug it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I wanted to go back and basically show you what I'm doing here now. So in this situation, if it was a brand new drive, this is the one that came with it, obviously. It has these little knobs that came with it, replacing it, and here's the little pull tab that I had used prior, which I kind of messed up because I put it in incorrectly. But basically with it, if it was a brand new drive, I would basically stick it in like so. Slide it back down in there and make sure this tab is straight up, because if it's off to the side, it doesn't like being in that way. So we'll push it down, and we will just simply put this back on top. If I can get it positioned right. There we go. I'll screw this down. This little screw thing here. So I gotta get it in there. Alright, come on. Oh, I didn't put it in right. There we go, now it's in right. It's a little tricky to do. But alright, so there, now it's tight. Close this down, let's put this back so you can see it. Now I'll plug the power back in. So you can see the lights here, so see what it does. So now it starts up. I can hear the drive spinning up now. And okay, so it's got a red light there, probably indicating because this is the drive I pulled out before, and so it's probably still in a bad state, which probably need to go back to the software to fix. So I'm going to plug this back in. Alright, so now once again it's still telling me that the RAID configuration has issues because I haven't rebuilt it yet, so I'll hit OK, and so this is where the drive utilities are still running. So I'm going to go back to the screen view and we'll rebuild it and we'll take a look at what happens next. Okay, so now that we've plugged the black drive back in, we're back to RAID management, and this is still warning me about the backup. We'll just ignore that. That has nothing to do with what I'm doing, just to let you know. Back to RAID management, so now it says it's degraded still, okay. But now notice here it says the drive 1 stays online, but because it's online doesn't mean it's built itself automatically. So I'll hit rebuild, and okay, so now it's going to rebuild. So rebuilding RAID volume, and depending on what's here, it may take some time to do so. So usually rebuilding of any RAID is going to take some time to do. So now I'm looking at the device. It's actually flashing. I'll go to the exterior view, but right now I have to wait. It's a big waiting game now. It says rebuilding 0%, and it's going to take some time to rebuild the entire disk. And I believe it does how the RAIDs usually work. They'll do a copy of the drive, and being 2 terabytes, this might take a little while. So we'll let it go, and I'll take a look from the outside what it looks like. So back out at the external view now, we can see that the drive itself is flashing. The drive 1 is still red, because that's the drive that I replaced. So it's flashing here on the screen of the software here. It's got the percentage for rebuilding. So it is rebuilding it. I'm going to imagine it's going to take a while for it to rebuild. So if you experience this type of failure, be assured that it seems like the drive will still function just fine, it seems, because obviously before disk 2 was still online, I was still able to get to my files, and now it's rebuilding. Even though it's rebuilding, I think the drive is still accessible. Yeah, so right here, whoops, right here. So the drive is still accessible. I can watch this silly video here. So that video is still playable and everything. So I can probably still use the drive just fine while this goes through the rebuild process. So I'm gonna let it go for a while, and let's see how long it takes to rebuild. I'm gonna guess it's gonna take a while, and we'll revisit it once it's done. Actually, I'm gonna be curious. I want to see what happens if I eject it while it's rebuilding. If I eject the drive, all right. So now it's removed. If I unplug it, all right. So it's unplugged. So the utilities doesn't see it anymore, but the drive is still flashing. So I'm guessing it's still going to probably rebuild itself. And I'm going to come back after a little while and plug it back in, and we'll ultimately see what the conclusion is. Okay, and now we're back. So my stopwatch kind of got messed up on me, so I don't have an exact time, but the drive itself is fine now, and it took several hours to actually rebuild. So I kind of let it go overnight, and when I got back in, everything's fine. There's no more reds here. Everything's looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'll plug this back in, and we'll see what the Western Digital Utilities tells me. So plugged in. And now I did test it by putting some files on here. I actually dragged my entire Steam library onto this thing, which took about 4 hours to copy over. And that was a good test to see how well how hot this thing got, because obviously some of the concerns I've read online were about the heat, because this thing doesn't have a fan. It pretty much just passive cooling, because the vents up on top let the heat dissipate up on top. So it really didn't get that horribly hot. It seems to handle it just fine. So it's something I'm not really be too worried about. The nice thing about not having fans, then I don't have to worry about noisiness or noises from potentially loud small fans. So this I think will do just fine. So if I look over to the tools here, RAID management, RAID status is healthy, and both disk 1 and 2 are online, and I'm pretty much ready to go. So once again, this is going to basically sit on my desk on another machine I use for that I dedicate work for photo and video stuff. And I didn't really want a cloud version. It's not a cloud version, once again. Now, I could share it on a computer to have access over my internet connection, my wireless, my network in the house, but I'm not going to really bother with it. So once again, this is primarily so that I have some redundancy in case one drive fails. The other one will pick up the slack, and I will potentially lose no data. So there you have it, a look at Western Digital's MyBook Duo. And if you have any questions or something I wasn't clear about or something I didn't answer, I'll do my best to answer them. And once again, subscribe, and thanks for watching.